Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We are back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. And today, Tom Martin, the CEO at Glance, is going to talk to us. He is a CX expert. He specializes in technology for contact centers, and he also strongly believes that as much as he is into technology, he believes the human-to-human factor is really, really important. So we're going to talk to him about that. And if you have been listening to the show, well, you know what's about to come. A couple of quick announcements as well. If you've got a question or you've got a story for me, please be sure to share it on any of the social media channels because I'm pretty much everywhere. And if it is a question, use the hashtag #AskShep. I'll either answer the question right there in the social media channel on this podcast, in my newsletter, or perhaps on my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home. And you can find episodes on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Roku, or just go to beamazing.tv. That's beamazing.tv. All right, it is time for the interview. Tom, welcome to the show.
Yep, thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm excited because you believe in something that I believe in very strongly, and that is that we are turning into really, for a lot of our customers, a digital first. Let me go to the website, see what I can find. Maybe there's a self-service solution, a digital solution, an AI-infused solution, but also you recognize there's a human-to-human factor that can play into this because everything works great until it doesn't, and then what's left, you've got to talk to somebody. And I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about some of the companies that have not recognized they need to balance this out. They get enamored with technology and they do away with the human experience only to the customer's frustration. So anyway, that and much more is what we want to talk about today, Tom.
That's great. My favorite subject.
Great. So, and very quickly, so our audience knows from the CEO himself, what is Glance? What do they do?
Yeah, so we're a software company focused in the enterprise space, helping businesses connect with their customers inside of a digital journey to bring in that human connection at moments of need. And so we have a collaboration suite and platform that allows people to be able to build that functionality in so customers can engage with real human beings when they need to.
All right. But before we get there, they go through the technology stage, which is where they're, and by the way, it's really interesting. We do consumer research every year. And one of the things we ask is, are you willing to use self-service solutions? And oftentimes the first place a customer goes before they make a phone call is the website to get the phone number.
Sure.
And that's the perfect place to inform them that there's an alternative to picking up the phone.
Right. I think the thing that most people recognize is that there's all these different channels that allow you to communicate with a business. And oftentimes each one of those channels can serve a very specific purpose. But when you think about the entire journey, many times, and I would say probably all times, you need to use multiple channels to be able to get what you need done. And it's really about how do all those things actually work together so that as a consumer, your experience isn't disrupted, isn't suddenly paused or stopped, or there's undue friction in being able to get from one stage to the next.
Yeah, I think that the best companies today are figuring out that if somebody starts with a chat and it could be an AI-infused chat bot to get answers, and they're not getting the answers they want, then they go, okay, I need to talk to somebody, and it seamlessly connects them still in the bot, moving from the bot to a live chat, maybe even a phone call, but all these different channels. And you mentioned, these different ways that customers connect. I believe that we really need to think about it in terms of doesn't matter how customer wants to connect. They can connect, we could make it available for them to connect to us through a chat bot, through an app that we might have, through a phone call, through email. But I don't want to go to one and then find myself, okay, I'm going to call the company and then I got to start all over again. By the way, yesterday, I want to tell you about an experience I had. I called a major brand about something, and on the phone, I went through the whole, please give us the last four numbers of your account, give us your last name to confirm, give us the zip code. And I finally get to an agent. And what do you think the agent asked me?
The same thing.
The exact same questions. So that's the exact opposite of what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. And I think about, we have gotten to a stage right now in 2023 where there's so many good, I'm going to call them instruments, channels, whether it is a chatbot, and the things that we're seeing with technology like Chat GPT and other ways to be able to engage someone, you realize, gosh, there's lots of great channels, instruments for being able to engage a customer. But what we don't have is this orchestration layer that brings those things together. And oftentimes, what we're starting to really focus in on is thinking about, data and what do we actually know about the customer and about their journey so that we can apply that level of data to one, figuring out what's the best way to engage them and actually when. Can we predict when a customer and understand when a customer is going to need, information or actually have the opportunity to inject a customer, a real human being, into that journey, because we know, gosh, this is Shep. It's one of our best clients. He's in the middle of making, a high value transaction. And he's at a point that we know is always sticky, where being able to provide advice or be able to sort of decipher information for them could be the key to being able to move forward in that journey.
All right. So let me give you a scenario that I think is an example of this, and you can tell me if we're heading in the right direction. All right. So I'm exactly the customer you just described. And AI can look at me as the customer and say just everything. And now I'm at this crucial point. It's a sticking point. I'm getting ready to make the decision. If the machine, the computer, the AI is doing its job, can the AI compare me to 10,000 other customers, or maybe 1,000 other customers, however, depending on the size of the company, and say, Shep's just exactly like that. Here's where he is. This is the question that needs to be answered. So let's serve it up on a silver platter to make it easy for him. That's what AI can do today, can't it?
It can. And it might be that, the thing that we try to ignore is that humans, are social creatures, and oftentimes, even presented with the right information or the right answer, oftentimes a human being is going to be like, gosh, I'm going to call my friend. They know a lot about this. I'm just going to ask for their advice. Am I making the right decision? Is this going to meet my needs? Even though, there's a bit of skepticism in necessarily listening to a bot, like it doesn't know everything about me. I haven't divulged everything about me. So I just want to have that human touch that says, hey, you know what, Shep, you're making the right choice. Or let me just tell you a little bit about some of the other alternatives, because maybe you don't fully understand them. And it could be at that moment that you're like, gosh, you know what? A human being is the right tool, the right piece to be able to get someone across the line.
Yeah. And what we don't want to do is get them to that human being. And then, and that's somebody in the company, whether it be a salesperson, an agent, support agent, and then have that customer start over again. It needs to be like in real time, a continuation of the experience.
Well, so today, I think there's a few companies that are starting to get there. But oftentimes when a customer gets to a real human being, it's because the journey has failed. It's like, I can't figure this thing out. I'm going to call. And so it's at the end of that journey where either they're about to abandon, or they're like, I can't figure this thing out. I must be stupid because it's supposed to be self-service. I'm going to call that person. And that person suddenly is now going to try to like retrieve, save that journey and get the customer back on it. Like the train's fallen off the tracks, versus, you know what, we're going to insert the human being, and the human being that's being inserted is going to go, gosh, you know what, Shep, I see you're at the hard part. You're in the middle of trying to make a decision. I know all this information about you. I can see, maybe past history of purchase history if you're a previous customer, or I can see how you've actually gone down this journey. You've done a search, you've entered our website here, you've gone through a comparison tool. I now have great visibility into where you are. and now I can pick up exactly where you are versus start over.
Are you suggesting that rather than the customer deciding they want to talk to somebody, that perhaps the company, the brand, initiates that human-to-human conversation rather than wait for the customer to call?
Bingo. That's it.
Okay.
Because looking at this, data model where suddenly we could actually use this data model, and going back to things like generative AI, of one is seeing how this information starts to pull it together. What if there's this other part, which is we can actually decide when and where, depending on each person. So it doesn't just have to be, everyone gets the same journey, but depending on who you are and the information that we have available to you, we then start to say, hey, we're going to inject the human being and offer that customer an opportunity to connect with someone at that moment.
I think that's a really strong personalized experience. It's not so much that you're personalizing it to the customer based on history and all that. You're really personalizing it to the need in the moment. And that's a really great way of doing it, and a great way of thinking of it, because so many people think personalization is using a customer's name, getting them information based on their past buying patterns. But I think what you're referring to is a whole nother level of saying we're looking at this moment right now, and we're assessing what the customer needs from us without them even knowing it.
Right. And so going back to some of the data that's collected, and even thinking about AI, I mean, most of the way I think about AI today is it's either helping the customer directly, and and of course it's helping the customer until it like spins out of control, and the customer's like, this is useless. It got me the easy information, and now as the questions and information become more complex, it suddenly runs out. And it's so can it very easily escalate to a live chat with a real human being, or maybe even escalate all the way to a conversation or a video interaction. Or the second is that AI is really providing contextual information to the agent. So as a conversation is happening, there could be some, natural language, translation that's pulling information, knowledge base, that's being hooked in, so the agent can have a better interaction with the customer. And I think when you start to look at baking some of those things into the solution, teams and individuals can adjust conversations according to, real-time, qualitative, quantitative, feedback to really improve that experience, and to be able to deliver it earlier in the journey, versus like at the end. So
Yep.
when we're now talking about based on how someone starts the journey, we can adjust, that human being earlier in the journey, versus always thinking about it's going to be something that the customer is going to raise their hand, uncle, I can't do this anymore. Get me a live person.
One of the things I love about Amazon is they have an incredible digital support system that at any time throughout that experience, if I want to talk to somebody, it just says, now you've come this far, we know what it is that you want to talk about. If you need to talk to somebody at any time, just click here, put your phone number in. You don't have to call us. And I can tell you, about the time I hit enter, the phone's already ringing. And there
Right.
is somebody who's looking at my issue and saying, okay, let's see what we can do to figure this out. Hey, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we can continue a little bit of this conversation. But I also want to get into your philosophy of the best metrics to look at when you want to provide the best customer experience. We are talking with Tom Martin, the CEO at Glance, a CX and contact center strategist and expert, sharing his wisdom with us today. We're going to take a short break and come right back. Do not go away. One of my favorite sayings is that customer service isn't a department, it's a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that must be embraced by everyone in the organization all the time, and that's 24/7. So if customer service is important to you, and I know it is, then you will love our virtual training, the ultimate on-demand customer service and experience training program that you can access anytime, anywhere. Now, the course content applies to everyone, regardless of position and responsibility, from senior executives to the most recently hired and everyone in between. You'll discover tips, ideas, and strategies that won't cost your company a fortune, but will produce what I call moments of magic, those positive experiences, and it will happen at every level of your organization. So go to Customer Service VT. That's V as in virtual, T as in training. That's customerservicevt.com. It's time to get customer focused.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio talking with the CEO at Glance, Tom Martin. You know, I love your take on the balance between, and that's really what it is, a balance between digital and human-to-human interaction. And something that you said that a lot of people I've talked to and interviewed over the years, you said, let's not wait for the customer to call us if they need us. Let's figure out a way to get to them in their time of need. I love that. Some of my notes in getting prepared for this involve your ideas on what the best metrics. And one of the comments you have is that you sometimes think a longer. Well, let's talk about what the metric is. AHT, average handle time. This is a term that's used in contact centers. And typically when you think of a contact center focusing on AHT, average handle time, the goal is to reduce the amount of time the agent spends with the customer. And sometimes that's counterproductive in building the relationship, making the sale, and keeping the customer coming back.
Right. I'm a big proponent of talking about average handle time, because to me, it's something that every business wants to track, but it's really about understanding how do you staff accordingly, and how do you run efficiencies inside your organization? Because when you think about average handle time, you know, one of the things that we look at is, would you rather spend more time with the customer to make sure that you can get them where they need to go to improve other key business outcomes? Or is it really about like driving them off the phone? And so to me, it's more about how do you plan and run your business as efficiently as possible so that you have the right staff. But when you look at
AHT is not about the customer's interaction. It's about understanding how much time, however long it takes, and understanding that's the number so that we can properly staff, as opposed to try to jam as many customers into 1 hour of or one shift of a contact center or agents work with them. That's great. That's great. So you mentioned, and I don't know if you did it just now or while we were on the break, you mentioned wallet share. I love the idea of wallet share. The only way you get wallet share is to make sure that customer knows what's available to them. And that means that you might have to talk a little bit more than just about the problem that they're presenting you with.
Right. Everyone has a preconception. They walk into every situation in their life with an idea of like what it's going to be like. And when it's different, it's either like, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought, or gosh, this was easier than I thought. And so when you can actually connect with someone and be able to solve their problem easily and be able to do that level of collaboration, suddenly you open up that opportunity where someone goes, gosh, Shep, this was so easy. I have another question. Because if this one was that easy, I'm going to ask you another one. And the same goes for, the agent on the other side, which is you get that opportunity to expose other elements of the business, to let them know, to say, gosh, you know what? Other people who are like you have also looked at these products or services. And then you get a chance to talk about it, and people are suddenly drawn in. And so the idea of expanding wallet share is also just education, letting people know that when you are buying something, to have the best outcome with the product or service that you're buying, you may have some other companion or associate components that you may want to include with it. And we also know that, let's take a bank, for example. Every bank is going to tell you what their ideal customer looks like. And it's not one person that has only purchased one thing. It means that you're going to have a whole series of products. The ideal banking customer is going to have checking and savings, direct deposit, some type of a loan like a car, maybe they've moved on to a mortgage, and then they're going to have some type of an investment vehicle, like they've rolled over a 401k into a rollover IRA. That's going to be sort of like the picture of their ideal customer. How long does it take to get them there? And what if you insert that human being in that journey to be like, gosh, you know what? We can offer you this. I can help you sign up for this. And you advance that customer down that road faster than they would ever be able to do if they were doing it solely by themselves.
So that's a powerful idea. I have a friend of mine, his name's Barry Banther. He's a consultant, and he has something called, I call it Banther Bingo. He uses the word bingo. And the idea is you list everything that you can provide your customer. In your case, you just mentioned, we'll use the bank. You can have a savings account, a checking account, all the different things that customers could use, whether it's free or paid for. You can have a mortgage. You can have an investment account that is like the IRA or any type of investment. So you have all the different things you can do. And you have your client over here and you try to fill the row. And when it's all filled, you get to scream bingo. The ultimate client using us for everything. And when you understand what you can, and that's growing now. Once you get them for everything, wallet share, what does that mean? If they're investing money in their IRA and using one of our investment vehicles to do so, do they have another account with another broker, another bank, another financial firm where they're investing something similar, a second IRA account or even other? And the goal is, can we bring them into ours? That's wallet share. How much, in this case, of a client's investable assets are with us versus spread out over multiple other businesses, organizations, competitors, if you will. So I love the idea of wallet share and understanding. I want that customer to love me so much, to trust me so much that they're willing to give me all of the business that I can provide them instead of spreading it out amongst others. Is that a way of saying it?
Yeah, no, I love that because, you sit there, we always talk even internally about, growing with existing customers versus going out there and acquiring new ones. To acquire new customers always takes more time and more money versus thinking about how do we grow and accelerate our existing customer base.
Right. And if you do it right and you make your customers happy, they're going to become your best marketing. I know we're talking about metrics. You're obviously familiar with the NPS, Net Promoter Score. On a scale of 0 to 10, what's the likelihood that you'd recommend us? 9s and 10s are promoters. And this is what I say to getting that survey information. If that's the question, and depending upon the kind of company I am, if somebody says, yeah, I would recommend this company, I would have my salesperson on the phone calling and saying, exactly who would you recommend us to?
Right. I agree. And in that sort of realm of like thinking about NPS, there's a lot of things that are starting to move around because instead of thinking about the product and service, we're really talking about we're competing on experience. And when you think about experience, oftentimes, humans take that path of least resistance. It's really about thinking about, what does the effortless experience and how do you remove friction out of it? And so back to how we started the conversation a little bit about there's many different channels customers can, engage a business with. It suddenly is like, how do you look at what I would call the total experience? And that's bridging the digital experience gap by linking CX, UX, the employee experience, the customer experience, and that sort of multi-experience. All of those layers have to be looked at as one total experience and bridging them all together. And that's where I think companies are struggling today, is in thinking about it from that perspective. You've got different siloed organizations like, no, we're really focused on this, when in fact the customer is really going to be transcending multiple departments.
Right. And it's important for the leadership, management, to know the customer doesn't give a flip about your silos. They only care about one thing, that they have a great experience with you. And if they do, guess what? They reward you with more business.
Period. That's it.
Period. It's almost a perfect place to end, but not quite. I love, by the way, how you brought it all the way back to the beginning. But I'm going to ask you one more question. You know it's coming. The audience knows it's coming. What's one last nugget of information that you want to share with us today?
I think that one is the human condition and the human connection is still the difference maker, and will always be. And developing and adopting an organization-wide digital experience strategy across multiple touch points that brings and inserts the human being is probably the most composable and impactful strategy that businesses can have. And so it really has to start with the right types of, thinking about the design and that overall strategy, something that we are so passionate about. We love talking to our customers about the entire journey. So would love to talk with people about it.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that. I have this visual in my mind. I'm seeing a trapeze artist going across back and forth. You know what's underneath the trapeze artist in case he misses or she misses?
Yeah.
There's a net.
The human net.
The net. And the net is the human in the customer experience, because we're trying to design the easiest possible experience. By the way, certain customers, they're going to go straight to the phone no matter what technology you create for them. We know who they are. They're the boomers. Okay.
Right. Well, and
we do our demographic research every year on this, and baby boomers are still the ones that skew the phone use higher than ever.
Right.
So,
and it's so important to meet the customer where they are.
Yep.
Gone are the days of forcing the customer to meet the business where they want to be met.
Yep. I love it. Love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's Tom Martin, CEO at Glance. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, this was great. Thank you, Shep.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another interview, and we will be back next week. And I promise you, we'll have another great guest. So until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.